Good morning and welcome to school year 2018-2019. I hope summer was restful and full of time with family and friends. At this point, we're beginning to make that beach to classroom transition as we kick off another powerful year of opportunity. I can't tell you how excited I am and how much hope I feel for what lies ahead. This year, we've decided to again deploy a video convocation to kick off our year. This format provides us with a powerful venue to synchronize our thinking, our hopes, and our purpose, as well as give our faculty an additional 2 hours of time for preparation, student file review, or maybe even phone calls home for incoming students. While I miss the personal contact that a more traditional format of convocation provides, I hope this trade-off continues to be a valuable time for you. So let's get to it. As always, I want to proclaim the vision of a district committed to building schools as the pride of our community. I want to paint the picture of moms and dads and guardians and adolescents and children who find that school is a place that works for them, that cares for them, that partners with them on the learning journey. I want to point us to that mission of providing a high-quality learning experience for every child, every day. Quality is found in the moments, quality lessons, quality classroom preparation, quality communication, and quality experiences. At this time of convocation, as we start our year, I want us to maintain our focus on our core beliefs that identify an East Hartford educator like a badge of distinction. High expectations, unrelenting effort, improving levels of competence, solution-focused, and results-based. These results define us. They define our beliefs, our words, and most importantly, our actions around service to children. At each of our school convocations today, our principals are providing greater detail regarding our district and school improvement plans that will guide our work ahead. I'm sure you're looking forward to those details. This morning, I wanted to provide a brief summary of the district plan aligned to the EH 2020 Blueprint for Achievement. I appreciate your engagement in understanding the broad concepts of where our district is headed and how we intend to get there together. Number one, balanced priorities, literacy and math. Last year, we deeply invested in mathematics instruction, and as a result, we saw impressive achievement gains, including a nearly 6% increase in our SBAC scores. This growth tells us that where we invest, we grow. This year, we'll work to keep that critical balance of keeping multiple balls in the air in this juggling act we call learning. To accomplish this task, we'll revisit our curricular structures, our school schedules, our intervention focus points, and our instructional competency to be sure that our learning systems are all getting the attention they need. Number two, student engagement equals learning. As obvious as is stating that water's wet, so is stating that engagement equals learning. Grounded by this self-evidentiary truth, we double down to evaluate the quality of our instruction judged by the engagement of our kids. From this lens, we ask, who's doing the work in my classroom? How can I shift this lesson from being teacher-centered to student-centered? How can I help my students see the why in today's learning? And how can I help my students help each other to help make the learning stick or remain permanent? We want our classrooms to be places where students find passion and purpose and learning routine and opportunity. Thanks in advance for joining us as we invest in this critical component of our students' success. Number three, trauma-informed instruction. Based on the data we collected last year, we know we need additional support working with the kids who have the greatest needs. We know that our kids cannot simply leave the incredible challenges some of them face in their personal lives at the schoolhouse door. And to this end, we commit to supporting you working effectively to meet these growing societal needs. As part of this plan, our district is actively working to continue to introduce additional supports and clarity regarding restorative practices, de-escalation training, and school crisis teams. In addition, we are working to develop a training program in partnership with our community agencies for mental health first aid. We know our kids need us, and we know that we need training and support as we collectively work to help them find success. Number four, data that provides context, history, and opportunity to improve. Over the years, our district has worked extensively to use data to inform instruction. This has been good and meaningful work. This year, we'll look to take another step in the data process by improving our data collection, review, and decision-making practices from the classroom to the boardroom. We believe that data should always provide us a context or comparative point, that it should offer us a look into our history, and most importantly, that it should help us improve. To aid our staff this work, we've developed a series of supports for schools, data team, and classroom teachers that we look forward to rolling out to you. And finally, number 5, teamwork. We wanted to specifically call out a vital ingredient of success over the past few years and re-emphasize the power of teamwork in our plans. Good work becomes great work through teamwork, and we could not be more proud to have you on our team. Great teams do difficult work together by sharing a deep sense of purpose and meaning in the day-to-day. Great teams support each other. Great teams push each other, hold each other accountable, and care for each other. In our district plan, we look to build great teams by revamping our district subcommittee process to include almost 130 volunteers. Thank you for being a part of that. By seeking to explicitly break down the barriers that often exist between departments, and by seeking to find more efficient ways to spend our time together. I hope this snapshot of our 5 comprehensive themes of the district plan at least give you a general sense of where we're going. It's a lot. It has to be a lot. The opportunity is great and the time is now for the kids we will all see in just 2 short days. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our East Hartford Public School Teacher of the Year. This is one of my favorite parts of Convocation every year, and I know one of our faculties. And certainly this year, as we introduce Miss Mary Beeler, who is East Hartford High School English teacher. The high school's had a lock on this thing for the past 2 years, but Mary, I'm so honored to have you here and really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
So I think you know Mary, and certainly all of us know, being the East Hartford Public School Teacher of the Year is a really big deal. It's an award that signifies from your colleagues that you stand out, and you really do. And you stand out, but in another way, you really reflect almost the 1,300 employees that are watching this today, and the characteristics and attributes that we hold so important here in East Hartford. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So I got a few questions, and I know you've been gracious and willing to share some words with our faculty here this morning as we kick off a new school year, and let's get to it.
Okay.
So I think first of all, can you give us a little sense about you? Who you are, your journey, and what brings you here to be here today?
Sure. It's not a really exciting journey. It's
I'm sure it's more than you
kind
think.
of traditional. So I went to Eastern and majored in English, and then I went into insurance.
Wow.
And I realized I'm a terrible salesman and had no interest in property and casualty, so I decided to look elsewhere, and my husband said, you really like that tutoring job that you did when you were in college, and so I decided to pursue teaching and came to East Hartford and watched my cooperating teacher deliver just an absolutely incredible lesson, and it made me want to be just like her. And so from then on, I've just looked around me and tried to emulate all of the amazing qualities that I see in all of the teachers from our district every day.
So insurance to East Hartford High.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I'm trying to draw a line to similarities, and I'm having a hard time.
I wasn't good at it.
Well, hey, listen. Well, you found what you're good at. Speaking of what you're good at, teaching is being in the classroom with kids. I think at every level, whether it's high school freshmen like you work with, or it's our earliest learners. It's an act and it's art. It's an art of love and passion and purpose. What do you find? What do you love about teaching?
I'd have to say, hands down, my favorite part about teaching is building relationships with kids. So kids aren't always the easiest in terms of gaining their trust, and I think I actually really like that challenge, because I think kids have to really trust you before you can get them to take intellectual risks or to challenge themselves. And so I think that my favorite part is kind of earning that from them and building those relationships. Yeah,
and I tell you, from the times I've been in your room, I've seen that. You see that that quiet connection that happens between, especially a teenager. We're talking about difficult relationships.
Yeah.
They do bring us to our challenge. I think we're all sitting here today, and we're getting ready for a new school year. We know what's ahead. Most of us, our new teachers, are wondering what's ahead. They'll find out soon. And all of us are thinking about so many things. Thinking about getting our rooms ready. Thinking about, oh my gosh, my tan's gonna fade.
Or not mine.
Or not yours. Either way. What are you excited about for this school year? What about this school year are you excited for?
So I think in our profession, more than probably any other profession, we have a chance for a fresh start every single year. So I think just like with every other year, I'm excited to start anew and to reflect on last year and think, you know, what did I do well last year? Maybe what can I improve? And then just every year try to be better than I was the year before. So I think fresh start is what I'm excited about.
It really is such a unique thing, and I think as educators, we go that fresh start. We celebrate the start of a new school year, but we also celebrate a new year at New Year's. So I almost sometimes feel like we get two fresh starts within one school year. Anything specific coming to mind as far as a fresh start? What's something you're working on this year that's going to be a piece for you that's interesting?
It's probably not that interesting, but we are putting more of our curriculum is being designed to apply to the SAT.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to tackle that because, you know, it's going to be an everyday element, and a part of my lesson every day is trying to, gear my lessons more toward that assessment. So I'm excited to tackle that because it's new for me, and so in my 7th year, it's not going to be the same lesson every time that I teach. So.
And welcome to East Hartford, where things change pretty quickly, right? But that is exciting for me too, and I think it's exciting, obviously, for our kids when we think about the importance of SAT success and life, how that leads to life success for them. So I'm glad you're taking on that challenge. So every year I've asked our Teachers of the Year, I call it the hot seat. Okay. And it's not that hot, but love to kind of throw some words at you. And kind of just see how you respond, you know, and kind of the stream of consciousness thing. So are you willing to come on to the hot seat?
Sure.
All right, here we go. So one of the words at this point of the year, you mentioned that this fresh start is the words I love is hope.
Okay. Optimism.
Can you talk about a new year? You hit this one a little bit.
New me.
New you.
Yeah.
Kids.
The future.
Teachers.
Warriors.
I love that. I love that. East Hartford Public Schools.
Home.
Oh, yeah, that's incredible. So as our Teacher of the Year, as I've shared, you know, I'm really glad to have you here and have you represent this important distinction. And every year in our convocation, our teachers have looked to this position, as you know, and as you've done, for some words of inspiration and message. And that's a tall task when we think about the incredible people that we represent and work with.
No pressure.
But no pressure at all. But if you had something to share with them, which I know you do, what words would you share with them to inspire them for the year that lies ahead?
So last year at the end of the year, I started just walking around the hallways and talking to kids that I didn't know, and some that I did. And I went over to them and I just said, "Who is your Teacher of the Year?" And every kid gave me a different answer. And so while I'm really honored to be the East Hartford and District Teacher of the Year, I just think that for our kids, it's anyone that they're interacting with that is making a difference for them. And so I think that's really important to remember that every year, that whether you're a social worker or a guidance counselor, you are that student's difference. And I think that I would hope that we approach this year with that same attitude.
Wow, that's super powerful, Mary, and I know that makes me think. That makes me think. For me, I have a lot to reflect on and to take advantage of that powerful opportunity. So, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you joining us, and want to wish you an incredible school year.
Thank you.
Finally, as I close out this message, I want to leave you with a challenge that I hope will inspire you to make this year an extraordinary year of explosive personal and professional achievement. Just think about that. This year is meant to be extraordinary for you. As an administrative team, we all read Dan and Chip Heath's best-selling book, The Power of Moments. I highly recommend it. The premise of this leadership text is the research behind the process of building peak moments that can create extraordinary impact. When you think back over summer vacation that's officially expired today and are asked the proverbial question, "Oh, how was summer?" you most likely will restate specific moments of the summer. Chip and Dan Heath describe these moments as times that rose above the everyday, rewired your understanding of yourself and the world, maybe captured you at your best, or provided an opportunity to share this moment with others. Knowing this research and the natural ebbs and flows of a school year, my question is, how can we individually and collectively pick 2 to 3 moments where we will elevate moments for our kids, our colleagues, and our parents? Today, I want to challenge you to select these moments and to commit to the planning process that will seize and harness the power of moments to make our year extraordinary. Maybe moment one is the initial phone call home where you introduce yourself to your parents and tell them how excited you are to have their son or daughter in your class and how you look forward to learning from them throughout the year. Maybe that moment is just before Thanksgiving break where you take a particularly difficult moment for some of our kids and you make it a moment of reflection, insight, and sense of appreciation. Whatever moment you pick, it doesn't matter. What does matter is what you do in that moment. Imagine a school year of extraordinary moments exploding like fireworks. Imagine the impact in September as we set our course, November when we need another burst, in the desert of March. Let's stop imagining it and let's do it together. To get concrete, here are 3 necessary steps to get you going. Number 1, identify the moment that you want to harness or intentionally create. Number 2, script out the specific plan to provide elevation, pride, insight, or connection. And number 3, most importantly, do it. It doesn't need to be big and elaborate, and please, stop waiting for that perfect sunset. What matters most is your energy and your commitment to this process. In East Hartford, the power of our school system is the power of a group of individuals who remember their purpose and find joy in helping others. Thanks in advance for being the team that is and will make the difference for our community and for our kids. I'm glad I'm on your team and I can't wait to share your moments with you. Have a great school year.